So, good morning. It is lovely to be here with you, Maria. It's nice to be with you and not being on the other side, because I'm conscious that it has been, I felt guilty that I had been inviting you to do this coaching week. And of course, when we planned this coaching week, we had chatted through everything, and you always come across so bubbly and positive and upbeat, and I forgot what it's like to be in the rawness of bereavement. And it is 2 years on, but that's still very much early days, and I forgot. And I kept apologizing to you because I'm sorry that I'm re-traumatizing you, making you go through all this. But you did highlight that we've both highlighted it is a very important subject.
Yes, exactly.
To discuss. So I'm glad. It's great to be here, to be able to talk to you face to face and not just watch you from the screen. I think what the first thing for me, just reflecting on the week and seeing the rawness of your pain, first question I want to ask you is, we are very uncomfortable with pain. And I can, obviously that's natural. We want to avoid pain. Nobody wants to experience pain. It's uncomfortable. We don't like to suffer. We don't like to see anybody else suffer. But should we get better equipped at how to deal with the emotions that come with pain? I'm thinking about right from an early age, when we're children, we fall over, we bash our knee, it's immediately mum or dad rushes in, there, make it better. But should we really be thinking from an early age to really sort of lean into the pain and learn how to handle it and process it and really feel it, experience it, and not leave it trapped in there or stuck in there?
Yes, absolutely. And what a great question, because the one thing I have trying to and it took me a while to get my head around it as well, it's about integration. You can't have pleasure without a pain. So it's basically the same coin, and it's both sides. It's like you cannot have happiness without sadness. We can't have life without death. So it's about embracing. It's about, the key in all this is integration, and it's about going through the pain and allowing yourself to feel those emotions. Because and I've met people, unfortunately, I do know people who try to avoid pain, but then in their effort to try and avoid that, they're not living a full life, because they say, for example, oh, I'm not going to get a pet because it's going to die. But then they also don't have the pleasure of actually having the pet. Or I'm not going to do this because this is going to happen. But then at the same time, you don't have the other side. So it's about integration and going through the pain. Unfortunately, it's we have to go through. We can't just jump over, because if we jump over the pain, we'll also jump over life, and we'll just be an audience to life. So I really, really believe that. And it does. And you know what, it's once you do it and you allow yourself in that wave, you are much better equipped for the second one, and you will see, your brain will have evidence of, oh, okay, I managed it. And I didn't break down, which I do have an issue with the word breakdown. Sometimes it's much more helpful to view it as breaking open. Breaking open to our it's not a breakdown. Because people say, oh, I'm not coping. My first question is not why you're not coping. What do you mean by coping? So if they say, oh, I keep crying, well, that doesn't mean you're coping. It actually means that you are coping. Absolutely. So it's how you view things and what you define as coping or pain, and what you're expecting, what is healing. You have to go through it to get to the other side. And it doesn't go away. It's there. You just learn to live with it, and then it becomes part of your story.
It's so true, and it's like when it's like going to the gym, when you're getting fit and you're building muscle or you're trying to get slim or whatever. It is difficult, but the more you do it, the more resilient, the stronger you get. So absolutely. And I do remember that feeling when, I lost my mum. Just, I had an awful lot going on. I had to care for my other sister, Shelley, who's got learning disabilities. And I remember thinking, I can't break down. I can't afford to collapse. And I couldn't afford to lean into the pain because I literally did feel like I would collapse and it would stop me breathing in my tracks. And I just thought, no, I'm going to collapse. But of course, that prolonged the agony. And I remember one particular session with Alistair, the life coach in the group, where I really lent into the pain, and I was so terrified of leaning into that pain because I really did think, I'm going to crumble, I'm going to collapse, I'm going to break down, and then I won't be able to look after everything. But it actually, it's the fear of pain that seems to be worse than the actual reality of pain.
Exactly, and that's I was waiting for that word, and that I think it's a key word. It's the fear. It's what we fantasize about what's going to happen, or what is not going to happen, that we won't be able to.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, we do have strength and untapped potential that we have no idea we have.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how much strength we do have.
Yeah, and it's so true. You don't know how strong you are until you're truly, truly tested, and you have to draw on those resources. So you said during the week that it was emotional maturity to ask for help. Mm-hmm. And I completely 100% agree for that. It seems that we're not very good at it, and it makes us feel very vulnerable to ask for help. But one thing that I found, that when I was going through my challenges, that I had expectations of certain people. I thought the people that were closest to me would be the ones that would help me the most. And that wasn't actually the case. I found that some people that I thought would totally rally and be there for me weren't. And then there was other people, like complete, not strangers, but certainly not close friendships, just came out of the woodwork, were just there, just really went to great lengths and supported me through my challenges. And that was a real sort of learning curve for me. So, I think, yes, absolutely, it's important to ask for help, but how do we get better at determining who the right person is? And just sort of accepting, if somebody doesn't have the capacity, or, they say no to when we ask for help, how we don't take that personally, or feel it crush or stop us asking another person for help.
Yes, absolutely. The first of all, yes, asking for help is the adult mature thing to do. And why do I say it's the adult mature thing to do? Because it means we are able to determine the limitations or not of our own resources. So that's why, first of all, it is a trait of resilience. Secondly, during such times when we are in need, and when we also come across and we have to deal with other people's abilities to deal with this. So people, and it's very common what you say, and many people say, oh, we've lost friends. That's not because they didn't want to help you, it's just they were not capable to deal with their own emotions. And people want you to get well quickly, not because they want you to get well quickly, but because if you are well, then they don't have to deal with that upset, oh, she's fine now, or he's fine now, and so on. So it's about, when these things happen, you also encounter other people's abilities to deal with emotions or not. Now, then, in terms of professionals, you do have to find the right person. And the way to do that is you have to meet several, because not everybody is equipped or has the respective or relevant training to deal with that. There are so many different approaches, and some will suit you, others will not suit you. So depending whether it's counseling, psychotherapy, or coaching, it does depend, what you want, how the person is able to help you, and also definitely have what I call them chemistry meetings. And most professionals offer them for free anyway. So you have a chemistry meeting, because that relationship, that rapport, is the one and most important thing, because coaching and psychotherapy and counseling is relational as well. So if you don't have that initial rapport, it's not going to work for sure. So it's not easy to find a person. It's not easy. It does take some effort to find the appropriate that will help you, and it might not be the first person you meet. So
yeah, that's an important thing, because I remember the saying, I was getting life coaching with Alistair, but my employers sent me for counselling. They thought they were doing the right thing, and I think I was entitled to 6 sessions, and I was using all these tools and techniques that Alistair had given me to sort of change my mindset, take control of what I could do, focus on different things, or focus on what I was in control of. And then I would go to the counsellor on a Friday afternoon, and she'd say, right, so what's happened this week? I would just sort of spew out all the crap and horrendous feelings and thoughts and everything that was going on. And she would just sit and listen. She wouldn't offer any advice. She wouldn't give me any sort of tools or techniques. And I just came out of the sessions completely depressed. And I just felt like I've just spent an hour compounding my issues and just re-embedding how negative and how crap things are at the moment. And I did 3 sessions, and I thought, this is not for me. This is not helpful. For me, I needed tools. I needed to have something to focus on that would give me optimism for my future, and just allow me to know that actually it's not always going to be like this. But yeah, it requires energy. And I learned something about myself, that wasn't right for me. But that's not to say that it's not right for somebody else, because I was fortunate. I had good friends, and I could talk to my friends. But you shared the emotional energy matrix with us, which I've been posting in the group every day. I think it's a fantastic tool to really kind of make a stop and pause and say, where am I today? What's my energy levels? What's my emotions? But what are some of the early warning signs that might be indicating that we're doing too much and we're going into burnout, or we need to go into the recovery zone, or we might be in survival zone? What, depending on, and we're not just talking about challenge of losing a loved one or caring for a loved one, we're just talking about any challenge that you're facing in life.
Yeah. If it's okay, and can I go back to just answer the first part of the question? And as we know, coaching is much more solution focused. So it is focused on tools and techniques, while counseling and psychotherapy do take more time. And there are different reasons. Because I'm practicing both, the way I distinguish whether somebody needs coaching or therapy is I'm watching, are they able to watch their own process? One, in other words, are they self-aware? And the second thing, are they drowning in their emotions? So if somebody is drowning, they probably need something towards the spectrum of counseling and therapy. And unfortunately, unlike coaching, counseling and therapy, even though that's how even the NHS does it, it's very difficult to predict how many sessions one needs. So always be wary of somebody who says, oh, you need X amount of sessions, because it doesn't. That's the $1 million question.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that. And you do need 2 or 3 sessions just to get to know the person. So there are very, very different approaches. And then also the lady you met might have been from the person-centered approach, which is more about listening. However, there are other approaches that can be more challenging. And again, as you said, different approaches and different styles suit to different personalities. So just to comment on that. So early signs, yeah, early signs, they're very individual. I can share again for what it's worth, my own early signs. I get very grumpy. I start mixing my words, and I can't talk in any language, whether it's English, Greek, or whatever. I get migraines, which that means I'm already over the curve. And unfortunately, and I want to share something with you in a minute, as humans, our body talks to us, but as humans, we are masters in covering those signs up. So I get a slight headache before it becomes a migraine, and I pop in a paracetamol. So my body is giving me the sign, but I'm covering it up. I'm not listening. Their signs are there, but we fail to see them. And
our bodies are always speaking to us, aren't they?
Exactly. And I don't know if you can see this. It's just basically a diagram of the body. It affects everything from our sleeping, our brain, our bowels, anything. So and we do get those signs. We might lose our appetite, sweaty hands, butterflies, tense muscles, dry mouth, pale face, oversensitive to touch. I mean, the list is endless. We just don't listen to them. Now, a way to monitor ourselves, and again, this is very individual, is, could I share my screen, Suzy? Is that
okay? If the technology allows, you have the permission. We'll see what happens.
Can you see this?
I can, yes.
Okay, so this is a curve, basically. It's a stress curve. All of us, we have what they call an optimal performance. So an optimal performance would probably be, for you and I right now, is we have to be at that level so that we can present to these lovely people. So we do need, so stress, this is also stress, but it's good stress. So what I'm trying to say, not all stress is bad. So we do need a certain amount of stress, adrenaline and cortisol, to be able to perform and stand in front of group. If we don't have enough, we're just being bored or asleep.
Yeah.
The problem becomes if we start going over the curve. As you can see here, going on the right, this is where we go down the road of fatigue, exhaustion, health, and then eventually breakdown and burnout. Now, it's very, very important to, and this is another exercise or activity, if you want, that you can do together, together with the matrix, to start noticing yourself over a period of 2-3 weeks, and start noticing what are your own signs. How do you know? How do you feel, first of all, when you're here on the optimal performance? And how can you tell that you're starting to go downhill? And make notes and actually write your own symptoms. Like I just mentioned some of my own symptoms. So, and so overall, if I zoom out, that's the self-awareness is key. So you need to be able to know your own, what is my optimal performance symptoms? How do I know that I'm now going down the curve? And keep those, and always monitor yourself against those. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that I also teach in the stress management workshops I do, and we call it the performance zone, is when you're in your optimum moment. Burnout is obviously when you're leading to exhaustion, fatigue, and then there's rust out when you don't have enough stimulus, enough stress. And I think, I think a lot of people have been experiencing that during lockdown because they've been in this place of limbo. For some people, for other people, it's been extremely stressful. But for anybody that's been on furlough, they've not had work to go to, or they've not had the structure. They've maybe, been nice for a little while, but then after a long time, it's just like, well, actually, I need some meaning and structure. So the challenge goes both ways. Roy's just asking, what was the book that you held up? What?
I feel embarrassed now.
Under Pressure. Oh, it's your own book. Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, we'll post links into that. Quite right, you should be self-promoting your book. I can't believe you didn't even mention. You should have said this amazing book, Under Pressure. Oh, brilliant. So yeah, we'll put links into the comments afterwards for that. Oh, I have a cat now come into the office, so
Oh, okay.
he's about to jump
He's
up.
asleep.
Yeah, he's on the windowsill. We're all good. So, in terms of when we are facing challenges in our life, and we're recognizing, we're starting to recognize we're spiraling down. What are some of the small, simple steps that we can put in place to not continue the spiral downwards, to replenish ourselves and recharge ourselves? Because the challenge we have when you're in a place of challenge, everything is an effort. When you were exhausted or tired, it's just too much. So what are some small, you mentioned going back to basics, but even just sometimes eating well, we just want to feed ourselves sugar or whatever it is just to get us through the day. But what would your sort of top tips be?
I get asked that question very often, and for some reason, I don't know why, people expect some
miracle answer.
scientific answer. And I was discussing this with a GP, a friend of mine now. He's actually the GP who helped me through the tough times with Geoff. And it's basically very simple. Stop. Just stop. Stop whatever you're doing. Just stop. STOP, capital letters. Stop. And even maybe buddy up with somebody who can challenge to you and tell them, you know what, I'm going through that crazy phase of mine, and I know I'm breaking down and I can't stop. Can you please slap me or whatever? Just find a way. But honestly, it's very simple. Stop. For some reason, again, we expect something fancy, but it is not fancy. It's stop.
Rest. Yeah.
Yes, just rest. Listen.
The thing is, though, the stopping, again, it comes to that fear of breaking down, because that's the avoidance often. It's like, okay, if I'm not doing this, it means I will be alone with myself or alone with my thoughts, and there's no distraction from those thoughts, and I don't want to go there. So often that is actually, I know I was guilty of that. It was just an absolute coping mechanism. The busier I was, the more I didn't have to think, didn't have to feel, didn't have to deal with any of the stuff that I didn't want to face.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it goes back again. I'll go back to the, in ourselves, we have always three parts, let's say. We have a parental part, which is whatever beliefs and so on and shoulds we have from our parents or with whoever we grew up. There is an adult self, which is the here and now. It's you and I talking now. And there is our inner child. Usually the fear does not come from the adult. The fear usually comes from the child. Unless you have done work with yourself, it's quite difficult to do this yourself. That's why I say buddy up with somebody who can wake you up, metaphorically speaking, that this is your adult. Let's assess the situation and keep you from going to that place, which is usually not an adult place. Fear or anything that if something is going to happen is not an adult position. So that means you're going then to your inner child. It's coming from somewhere else, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Do you think there's actually a place of accepting that you are just going to be out of balance? I know. I know for me, when I was caring for my mom and my sister, it was like I knew it wasn't always going to be like that, and it was just a case of, do you know what? Whilst this is difficult, whilst I'm exhausted, I just need to do this now, and it won't always be like that. And rather than trying to put even more extra pressure on yourself by having self-care habits and self-nourishment and all the rest of it, just go, do you know what, this is just the reality now. Can acceptance, lessen the suffering, I suppose?
Absolutely. It's a major part of that. And again, it's an adult position. And again, to find your balance on the bike, sometimes you need to lose it. And if for you know, bike, if you put too much effort on it, you will fall. But if you sort of lose your balance and then you just find your balance again, so that's again about integrating that, okay, now I'm having a horrible day, but tomorrow the day will be different. So it's having and accepting that it's okay not to be okay. I know it sounds a cliche and there's a lot about on that at the moment, but cliche or not, it is reality. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we've talked about some of the things that we can do. I mean, literally just stopping or taking at least breaks and pauses to start that replenishment, rebuilding process if you have found yourself spiraling downwards. Now, one of the things Alistair said to me when I was going through the height of my challenges and I was really spiraling down, he said to me, you know, no matter how bad it gets, now bearing in mind that Alistair's got a very dry sense of humour and he knew me very well and he knew the right thing to say to me. So he wouldn't say this to everybody. But he said, you know, no matter how bad it gets, think on, it could always get worse. And I remember just thinking, what? Initially, I was totally stunned and going, are you freaking kidding me? How worse could it get? Like, everything about my life is falling apart right now. But then I started, it literally did a mindset shift. And I started thinking, actually, I've still got my health. I've still got a roof over my head. I've still got a job. I've still got money coming in. I've still got good friends around me. Do you know what? I've got a lot to be grateful for. And it instead of focusing on all the negative and all the things that were going wrong in my life, I started the process of going, okay, let's focus on what is going well. And we hear this in the personal development industry about keeping a positive mindset. And that is the hardest thing when you're in the bleakest of places and you're faced with challenges and it just feels like it keeps coming and coming and coming. But what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a useful tool?
Yes, but it has to be applied. The timing is crucial, as you said, because depending on where the person is at, because it can also come across as discounting. So you do need, first of all, to have the forum, the space, the time to see that all this is bad. Because if I stopped you too early from that, you won't listen to begin with. And again, we're not doing that integration again. So it does work. Timing is crucial. The phase of the person, the individual plays a person. You do come across as an optimistic person. I know people, however, who wouldn't be just even be able to go there. So it does depend on the person. And also sometimes the other thing that I definitely don't agree with, which is not what happened in your case, but we've seen a lot of that in organizations during the pandemic, is for them with too much positivity and just, focusing on the positive only, which ended up becoming even toxic. And that doesn't help. So positivity is great as long as we also allow the other bit. So I would go more for compassion at this and containment at the same time. So we need to allow for the whole range of emotions and also be able to hold them at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely, completely. Yeah, it's just validating the roller coaster of emotions that you'll go through and what stage you might be at, and knowing that the 5 stages of grief, you could experience them all in one day, and there's no particular order. Absolutely. And your work as a therapist, you will have supported and counselled people that are going through grief, loss, change, challenge numerous times. Before your experience of caring for Geoff and losing Geoff, do you think that your advice has changed as a result of the experience that you've gone through?
Yeah. First of all, the whole experience has changed me as a person. I felt, even while this was happening, I felt more, it's a difficult to explain, more channels have opened, if that makes any sense. So I feel I'm able to pick up more things from a person now than I was able before. Yeah, I think I plead guilty for having said some stupid or silly things before having my experience, and that was because it was just theory. Well, now it's theory and practice at the same time. And I think it has allowed me to connect in a better way with those people that I see. So yes, it has changed. It has changed me generally as a person, I think. So as a consequence, it has changed me as a practitioner. It's unavoidable, and that's, as I was saying the other day, that's the positive byproduct of all this. It's not all bad. There are good things as well. So yeah,
I remember Rabbi Steve Leader. He was one of the coaches in the group that we interviewed. He'd written a book, More Beautiful Than Before, and he talks about not coming out of empty-handed from the suffering that you have experienced. And he said, every one of us at some point in life will walk through hell, and the key is not to come out empty-handed. And that really resonated with me as well. But he also said that he wrote his book as an apology. He'd been a rabbi for sort of 20, 30 years, and he realized the advice that he'd been given, it's not that it was the wrong advice, but it wasn't, he, like you, had the practical along with the theory, and he understood it more. He was more attuned and more sensitive, and yeah, and I know I've said clumsy things to people as well before I experienced it, and now I'm kind of like, if you can't say anything positive or helpful, just don't say anything at all. Just listen and be there.
Yeah, and that's key. And also do say, you know what, I don't know what to tell you because there are no words, but I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here. I'm next to you. I'm right where you are, and that's the best thing you can tell them, basically, because they don't expect you to make it any better. They just want you to be there, and that's
It's so true. And that's the thing, because I remember people used to actually say to me, "How can I help?" And I actually couldn't even articulate what I needed them to do for me. And it was about them just actually being there and just going, give me a laugh, give me some light in the darkness, give me some humor, to something that will make me joke, switch on Friends, whatever it might be, just to take me out of this moment for now. And that is one of the common phrases we hear, that time is a healer. You're still very much in the raw stages of learning to live without Geoff. And, I do remember those days myself. I had an emptiness in me, and I genuinely thought I would never laugh again. I would never truly enjoy life again. And, this is 10 years on, and I can genuinely say I am enjoying life. I have come out the other side of that, and I do genuinely belly laugh. That emptiness isn't there. But I mean, what advice do you have for yourself and others to help navigate through these bleaker times? Because we hear that expression, but it's not much consolation when you're in the midst of it.
Absolutely. And I found this picture on Twitter the other day. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
The first row says what people think grief looks like, that it becomes less, which is not true. But the second is the one I also resonate with. So grief stays the same, but what we gain is additional experience around it. And that resonates with me because, I have been able to live and really have great laughs with my friends and family and so on, and at the same time cry my eyes off. But it's about doing both. And there will be days, I know that there will be days that will be bad. I'm not sure if time is a healer. It's just that you just learn to live with it. I don't think it's something you ever get over it. It's just you learn to live with it. It becomes part of your story, and then you just build more experience and life around it. And then eventually, and I know women and men who have lost their loved ones who were able to find love again, and they were able to love both. So you can do that. It's possible. So and I think yeah, I am at this stage where I can visit Geoff where he is, and you know, there will be a tear, and then have a coffee with my friend and just gossip and laugh about life. Yeah. So it is possible to have both. It's about integration. It's not, try not to put it in a box, shove it away. Yeah. It's there, and it will be there. And also, what I have found very important is to be able and to talk about Geoff, because I know sometimes when I bring him up, and usually it's something funny he has said. Some people laugh. I can see some people feel uncomfortable because they think,
like, oh no, she's mentioned Geoff. Oh no.
No, but you know, Geoff was a funny person. He was swearing a lot. So, you know, yeah, whenever I usually bring him up, it's something funny that he would have said about me. He used to call me Dizzy Doris, for example, because I'm quite random. So, you know, I need to be allowed to speak about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, sure he's watching over and seeing everything you're doing, just extremely proud of the work you're doing. And yeah, and we're grateful that you've been able to share your experience, your story, your wisdom with us this week. So thank you, Maria. It's been an emotional week, I won't lie. I mean, we were both crying on Wednesday. You know, I phoned you up after the broadcast, bawling my eyes out, trying to offer you words of comfort, and I'm sobbing my eyes out as well. But it's been an important week. And, you know, whilst people may not be going through something like this right now, sadly, they may go through it in the future, and hopefully this will plant seeds for them to have those conversations, have the courage to say what they need to say, and deal with any kind of loss or challenge in a more empowering way. So thank you for taking part in Change Your World Every Day. And yes, we look forward.
Thank you very much, Suzy, for the opportunity, and thank you all, these lovely people. It was amazing to be able to meet you and interact with you. And maybe in the future we can do a different subject.
Yeah, a more jollier subject.
Yeah, more laughs.
Yeah, well, personal development is never easy. It has its challenges, and the one thing you do have to have a sense of humor when you do start a personal development practice. There's no doubt about it. So thank you again, Maria.
Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Take care.
Bye. Bye.